Okay, we would have started on Wednesday with a number of the primary schools under the domestic summer program. A number of those schools, after visiting them, we recognized that there were some challenges in relation to the reopening of school for the month for this today. As a consequence, we were forced to close them to ensure that the industrial cleaning was done and to ensure that the classrooms could be put back together to be able to accommodate the staff and the students. We took a decision as well to stagger some of the secondary schools as well, because in a lot of cases the major works that were to be done at those sites would not have been completed in time, and I'm very sensitive to the issue of the teachers and certainly children in the environment operating in conditions that are not necessarily favorable to their health. As a consequence, we took the decision to be able to stagger those schools, and those schools is apart from one, which is Frederick Smith. We've taken the decision that we're going to reopen Frederick Smith on Monday of next week. I think that would give sufficient time to be able to correct some plumbing issues, to ensure that the boys' bathrooms are adequate. And let me just say that we are undertaking what I would consider a very ambitious project in relation to the restoration of a number of bathrooms across the school plants. As a consequence, during the summer vacation, we have done an evaluation and assessment of those particular facilities. We are now in the process of being able to put some costings to those areas, and hopefully by Christmas, we should be in a position to start some of the renovations across the school plants. The assessments that have been done obviously will suggest to all of us that there is significant works to be done in relation to a number of the bathroom facilities, but we're starting the process to be able to do the renovations and certainly the retrofittings. A number of them have had challenges in relation to ventilation, in relation to the adequacy of the sanitary facilities in the bathrooms, and we want to be able to systematically address a number of the concerns that have been raised by not just parents but also the students who have to use the facilities as well. In relation to the schools that will be reopened on the 16th, those have been delayed for a week. In some cases, we would have hoped that we could have opened, but again, as I said, the challenge primarily is the issue of completing construction work, being able to do cleaning of the area where the construction work has taken place. But there has to be a recognition that the entire school sometimes is in need of cleaning. And in the past, there was no real proper system of cleaning the entire school. Luckily, I've had the opportunity to tour several of them, and my observations are such that I believe that it is only prudent to be able to, once we get started, that we are able to have as little breaks in terms of intervention for stopping school as much as possible. So I would ask the public to just bear with us so that we can start the process of being able to continue the communication, so that people are aware that we're having some challenges, but that we're trying our best to be able to address them as quickly as possible as well. So those schools that appear to be on track for Monday, again, if there are going to be challenges, we will come back to the public and advise accordingly where those challenges might arise. But it is important that the public understands that no significant work has been done on these plans for a number of years. And in a lot of cases, there is a lot of frustration by our teachers, there's a lot of frustration by our parents in relation to the conditions that our students have to operate in and these teachers have to function in. I am very sensitive to these issues because I believe that the only way we're going to be able to get the best out of both student and teacher is if we create the environmental conditions to be able to allow things to settle in the school. So it may appear that we have not been able to open, and that is correct, but basically we are trying to avert constant closures throughout the entire term, and I therefore ask the public to just continue to be patient with us. Luckily, the unions have been very cooperative. I've kept in communication with the unions, and where they have highlighted any issues from the teaching profession, we've been able to respond, but equally our visible tours of the school plant have allowed us, and certainly myself, to be able to see where the challenges are and make certain decisions in respect of the reopening of school. I think it has to be seen in a context, and the context is that the resources that should have been made available to repair, to renovate, to in some cases rebuild the school plants were not made available by the last administration. We've been able through this administration to accommodate a number of the requests by the unions and the teaching profession in relation to things that needed to be addressed. And we have done so, but we don't obviously have all of the funds to be able to either do complete rebuilds of a number of the schools. We've been able to address some areas, but not all. And even if you take where we are now, Frederick Smith, we were able to do an audit of the secondary schools a few months ago when I first came into office, because we recognized the dire state of the school plans, and we wanted to be able, moving forward, as we were trying to seek funding as our credit rating would have increased in the economy, we wanted to be in a position that we knew what the cost implications would be and the state of each of the plans, so that we can have begin those negotiations with external agencies. So I think the groundwork is being laid in this first year. Sometimes, and we had a conversation with the staff this morning regarding the 8-week vacation, 8 weeks actually becomes 6 in some cases, and where you may have challenges in relation to immobilization, that presents sometimes mobilization of fees for the contractors, sometimes that creates some problems. So there are systems that need to be worked on. I think for the most part the contractors have done relatively good work in terms of making good the school plan. But one of our biggest issues has been the budgeting of the industrial cleaning to start back schools. It would appear that there would not have been a significant or any budget really allocated for the general cleaning of the school plant. Usually the funds have been allocated specifically to where the contractors operated. And unfortunately, we have seen that failure to address it each year has resulted in teachers complaining, in parents complaining, in persons taking sick. I am trying to basically ensure that we have as little disruption during the school term as possible. There are going to be things that I can't foresee, but I think making sure that the smell of paint is reduced and minimized as much as possible. Where there are persons who are sensitive has to be a priority. I think in terms of dust, we have to ensure that we are able to clear areas that would not normally have been cleared to reduce persons being off from work. Education has one of the largest budgets, and I think the time has now come for us to really evaluate how we spend these funds. There's no point in making repairs to a facility and not being able to address issues of termite infestation, for instance. We have seen over the course of the last year, certainly in a number of instances, areas have been repaired, but then you don't have the requisite funds in the budget to be able to do the extensive works, and then the termites start to infest another part of the building. These are things that we can only address with proper planning and also with preventative measures being taken, but it also requires us to have the funds to be able to address it. And so in the course of the tours that I've been doing, I've been trying to speak with teachers, to speak with the unions, to ensure that parents also are fully apprised of what the issues are and the challenges, and that we're not trying to stop the children from being in school. We really want children to be in school and for the environment to settle, but there is a lot of work that has to be done in order to be able to get the schools ready for the school term. And so therefore I hope that by Monday that most of the issues can be resolved. Where works can be done internally, the contractors will continue to do those works, but for the most part we don't want the disruption of dust and noise disrupting the environment in the school as well. There are a few areas where we have had the assistance of external ministries to be able to do paving works. And of course that is outside the ambit of the Ministry of Education. We've been working with the school boards and stuff and the ministry to be able to get that work done. But again, that is a situation, for instance, at Grantley Adams and Eagle Hall, where we've had to take the decision to stagger the timing for reopening, simply because there's no point in sending students and teachers into school and then having to close because of the dust from the paving. So decisions are being made in the best interest, I think, of everyone, and I would hope that the public would be understanding certainly of the challenges that we're having, but we're trying to address them in a systematic way.